All right, I call this one JD Vance, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Yang, and how we all get exposed eventually, featuring Nick and Mocha. This is Otis 5D React. All right, we got it. Yeah, we got it dialed in. Okay. So anyway, I was talking to a friend of mine about, the nomination of JD Vance and how Nick Fuentes has been warning about JD Vance as, this kind of like Zionist Peter Thiel protege. I'm a big fan of Peter Thiel. But, I take Nick very seriously. And so I found it extremely compelling that Nick had been specifically warning about JD Vance and that JD Vance was most likely going to become the vice president months ago, I believe. And now it has come to pass. And so whatever, because my friend was all, geeked on JD Vance and how like, he's so based and, whatever. And so I said that, and then my friend sent me this, and I found it very interesting because it just really, it really spoke to me in the sense of like, we all got a past, bro. We all got a history. And I don't know, I don't even have any opinions on that. As always, I just feel like I am a stranger in a strange land, and I just find these things so fascinating, and I want to find the other people who find them fascinating, and I want them to become citizens of my group chat at Otis 12D. So if you're one of these people, please come to my website and go to Otis 12D and consider becoming a citizen, because I'm looking for you. You're the reason, in large part, in many ways at least, that I'm doing this, other than, like to put a dent in the universe and shit. So anyway, let's check out this thread, and I think I'll probably talk through it as we go. All right, I think it's a good thread. This is the best. I'll just put it this way. I feel like people typically have very, very shitty criticisms of Nick Fuentes. And to me, all I can say is that of all the criticisms I've seen, like if I was trying to steel man criticism of Nick Fuentes, I would point to this thread. Maybe not 100% of it, but just the gist of it. So anyway, without more, hooing and hawing. So I see that, and obviously this guy doesn't like Nick. You can see it from, tweet one. I see that there is a very robust demoralization campaign from Fuentes and his army of brain-damaged tards and DeSantis supporters who were never Trump, both in 2016 and 2020. I don't even know what that's about. They should be exposed. Let's go. Our little Mexican troll Fuentes started his political career as a pro-Ted Cruz conservative. So I think that's interesting because one of the things that Nick Fuentes has criticized JD Vance for, and which I found compelling, I still find it compelling actually, is that JD Vance was indeed a kind of like never Trumper who talked a lot of shit about Donald Trump and voted for Evan McMullin, who is gotta be, Evan McMullin is like one of the worst people in the history of my lifetime of American politics. He's up there with like George W. Bush and like fucking, man, I'm like Adam Schiff and like just like fucking Anthony Weiner. This guy was such a fucking shithead. I don't even know what to think about the fact that a guy who's theoretically so smart like JD Vance was like, it took that guy even 1% seriously. But I don't know. I'm not claiming anything. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But anyway, the point is that Nick has criticized him for that, and I didn't know. I'm assuming that what I'm reading is true. Maybe that's dumb of me, but just to put forth my my biases, if you can call it that. Like, I'm just assuming that what this Mocha guy is saying is true. If this turns out to not be true, then fucking joke's on me or whatever. But anyway, our little troll started his political career as a pro-Ted Cruz conservative. So that's interesting because, you have this idea of Nick as like, he's admitted that he was like just a regular kind of Ben Shapiro kid. And but that's interesting. He jumped on the Trump train when it became politically convenient. That is a Russell conjugation, meaning that is not factual. That's an opinion. He didn't say he jumped on Trump train in blank 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 2015, 2016, whatever. He's saying when it became politically convenient. And that's called mind reading. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm like telling this to myself. I'm like doing my own analysis as I read this. But that didn't last long. While he himself took mostly moderate positions on most issues at a time, Fuentes consistently criticized Trump for being too pro-Israel and soft on immigration, to the point where he quickly threw him under the bus and jumped on Yang train. I assume this is a quote from a blog from Nick at the time. Said that Trump's brash big leagues type stuff was charming. I'll admit, in 2016 it was funny to see somebody go up and say I have the best words ever and that type of stuff. But Andrew Yang exposes the shortcomings of that. So I assume what he's saying is that Andrew Yang has like data and like da da da. I was interested in Andrew Yang in a big way too. I kind of briefly jumped aboard the Yang train myself. I'm just being honest. And that I found the same thing compelling, that Andrew Yang, until he revealed himself to be kind of bitch made and just like a Bernie Sanders type guy who like isn't really willing to stand up for anything in some level. I was into it too, and I found that compelling as well. That Trump, did just say, "I have the best words ever." And it was awesome. It was charming and funny and like awesome. It was fucking awesome. But then it was like when somebody came along who actually knew shit or seemed to know shit, it was compelling. So, okay. Mother Jones reported on the phenomenon of white nationalists abandoning Trump and joining Yang train. Yang gang, not Yang train. Of course, it was the usual suspects: Nick Fuentes and Richard Spencer. Understanding Yang gang: 1, the country is doomed. 2, the rules don't matter. 3, we might as well get $1,000 a month. I mean, that's not even necessarily an endorsement. That's just a funny ass kind of representation of Andrew Yang's theory. I'm not sure that that's an endorsement, but I'm also not sure that it's not. I don't know the context of that tweet. You can read the full piece here and check the tweet from Richard Spencer below. Trumpism was the fantasy that America can be saved. Yangism is the awareness that it can't. I think Yangism was deeper than that. I think Yangism was the acknowledgement or the understanding that like technology is about to fucking steamroll human civilization, and no amount of like human ingenuity. It's like what is that guy? The steel driving man, what is that? I'm blanking right now. Anyway, the parable of the steel driving man, John Henry, is that it? John Henry, the steel driving man? That sounds right. And he was like the best. He was the best train maker in the world, and he would hammer the train tracks into place, and then he fought the machine and he won, but then he died, right? And that was like a parable about eventually technology defeats man, and it's futile to attempt to stop it. And that way, Andrew Yang, to his great credit, I don't even think small credit, his great credit, he really brought that, at least at the time, to the forefront, that these are real changes we may be forced to grapple with. And so anyway, I think Yangism was bigger than that. But of course, this is just like, this is a tweet. Tweets are supposed to be, not all, they're not, I don't want to say supposed to be. Tweets are often like punchy, and like it's not about, I don't know, man. Quoting people's tweets is kind of like as though they're factual statements on the record. Okay, he even took a picture. With Yang while disavowing Trump for trying to do the best he could while fighting deep state and Russia hoax. Okay. In 2021, on January 6th, Fuentes was one of the agitators encouraging people to storm the Capitol. There's threads showing how active his involvement was. I guess this guy is like doesn't think that the election was stolen and thinks that January 6th was an insurrection, I guess, something. Strangely enough, even the most peaceful protesters have since been arrested. I guess he's saying that like it was so bad that protesters got arrested, or that Nick's a Fed because he didn't get arrested. I don't know. In 2022, Nick set up a trap for Trump. He knew how toxic it would be for Trump, who was planning to run at the time. Again, he knew how toxic it would be. This is like mind reading. This is putting words into people's mind. Even NBC News, as though NBC News is a neutral teller of truth, thought that it seemed like a trap. But it didn't stop at that. After making the dinner public and giving press more reasons to attack Trump, Nick once again threw Trump under the bus and declared his loyalty to Ye. Bro, how the fuck you not going to declare loyalty to Ye? You're not throwing Trump under the bus, bitch. That's fucking Ye. Put some fucking respect on the name. Anyway, according to Nick, Trump was over and all the energy was with Ye. Of course, that didn't well, Trump did. Dude, there was a lull where Trump did seem very dead. Like, just like, dude, this shit ain't it. Of course, that didn't last because Ye had another psychotic, blah, blah, blah. I'm starting to realize that this mocha guy is like a kind of bitch made. But now in the beginning of 2023, Nick pretended that he was loyal to Trump all along and then said that he was fully behind Trump. All right, then I guess this is my point. This is why, even though I'm starting to think this mocha dude is fucking bitch made as fuck, I still like the thread. Okay, I put some respect on your name, Mocha, because there is truth to this. That like, so Nick is attacking people, amongst other things, for changing. At one point saying this, and at another point saying that, and in a big way. And, you know, Nick also changes. And so I'm not doing some, you know, bitch made shit of trying to be like, see, everybody changes. Nah. No, not at all. I'm using this. I'm such a narcissist that I'm using this to kind of like to get some self-love, you know, some gratitude for myself, because I get very conflicted if I change, you know, and like, oh my God, am I a hypocrite or something? But then I see that, like, I increasingly see, like, everybody does, you know? And I think that I almost hope that the final boss of cancellation is like, it's like the Spider-Man meme of like everybody pointing at each other. And everybody's just canceling everybody else. And then it's like we're all canceled and then all bets are off, because increasingly I just see that like reality is very complex. And I do think that it is that the best people in the world acknowledge the fact that they changed and acknowledge that at one point they said one thing and now they said another thing, and maybe they even apologize for that. If it was, you know, for instance, like if somebody made a financial decision, if somebody said, oh yeah, this thing's going to the moon for sure, and then they realize, like, you know what, I don't even really believe in that thing anymore, and then other people listened to them and like lost a lot of money, I think that person has like a ethical responsibility to apologize. Or like Jack Dorsey, he's my favorite example of this with like Twitter and now Bitcoin and Nostr, where he has not taken sufficient responsibility for his role in running a fucking Gestapo like Stasi like surveillance site, and just like, yeah, I mean, you know, shit was so fucked up, like nobody should have that power. It's like, bitch, you better throw Vijaya under the bus, or like, fuck that, bro. Like you ain't it, because you had a lot of power and you used that shit irresponsibly as fuck. I don't care how nuanced the story is. It's like, bro, you got to know that the optics look so bad that you're like, guys, I just want you to know the truth is that like, you just have no idea how much pressure I was under, and the way that the stock market works, where you know, it's like quarterly earnings, and like I got 9 things on my mind and I don't even want to be running this site, and like, you know, I got this Vijaya woman lying to me, and I'm sorry, man. I'm truly sorry. I wish I had done better and I didn't, but to make it up to the world, I'm putting my time and energy and money into something that I think can solve these problems once and for all, where no one is in control, where it's sufficiently decentralized that like no one can shut it down. And I think that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And that's kind of my point. I feel I have not personally, I'm not saying he's never done it, but I have not heard, I don't think Nick did anything even remotely close to Jack Dorsey. But I'm just saying, like, he definitely acknowledges he was just like a normie Ben Shapiro conservative kid. But like some of this stuff, I would personally love to hear that he's like, yeah, I get it. And this either two things. This is why it's different than the JD Vance situation, because I'm super open to what he's saying about JD Vance. Or like, you know what? I mean, hey, like I guess that maybe you got to give people a chance because like I can see now that, you know, I change too. People change. It happens. I don't know. I think that's like the honorable thing to do. And that's just I hope I do that because, you know, the title of this is, you know, and how we all get exposed eventually. Part of that is for me because I'm sure as I start talking, if I have the success that I dream of, I'm going to get exposed. It's going to happen. I don't even know what. I'm already scared of what people realize about me and what a fucking phony hypocrite I am before anybody even cares. And so I see now that, like, okay, this is part of the game. You get eventually exposed, and you either deal with it in a way that I consider like, okay, I fuck with that. That's some honorable ass shit. Or you don't. And that's really the only choice you have. And there's no one. You know, I have had a tendency to try to find the flawless person. And I think it's finally getting through my thick fucking cranium that person does not exist. All right. So Nick said he was fully behind Trump. Then October 7th happened, and Nick began gaining traction among the anti-Semitic third worldist crowd. They hated Israel. Nick started slowly making anti-Trump posts, accusing him of being too pro-Israel, too compromised due to having Jewish family members. I don't think that's why he said that. Why he thinks he's compromised. It worked. His low IQ supporters, this mocha person, quickly threw Trump under the bus once more, and then the assassination attempt happened. Of course, it was bad optics to be. I really don't like this mocha person at all. To be anti-Trump, so Nick pretended that he never backed away from his support. I wouldn't say he pretended, but again, as much as I really dislike this mocha person, I'm grateful for this thread because even if, you know, 85% of it or 95% of it is just like, oh God, dude. You know, there is a there in this thread, in my opinion. There is a small but real amount of signal. He needed a good exit where he could justify throwing Trump under the bus. It's like, dude, what the fuck? You really think that this is like Trump's VP pick gave him an opening? According to Nick and his crowd, JD was too compromised, too pro-Israel. After all, he was a never-Trumper in 2016. Do you believe him? Think again. FYI, Nick Fuentes endorsed Vance in 2022, said he admired him and congratulated him on his victory. Nick Fuentes not only endorsed JD Vance in his Senate run, but was very open and proud about it. Why didn't JD's earlier record of being anti-Trump dissuade him then? What has changed? That's a good question. I'd love to hear Nick address that question. I'd like to hear that. That's interesting. Like, you know, props to Mocha. It's a good question. Who needs him? Step aside, get out of the way. Nick Fuentes on Donald Trump 2 weeks ago. This was on Saturday. God bless Donald Trump. Yeah. Who needs him? Step aside, get out of the way. Nick Fuentes on Donald Trump 2 weeks ago. God bless Donald Trump. Never ever surrender. You know? I mean, it's compelling. There is a pretty you know, I think I'm just trying to think out loud of how people would defend that, people that were like groypers. And I would imagine it would be something like it's taken out of context. And like, okay, I still think it would be interesting to respond to that. I think it would be a good opportunity to clarify. And I don't mean to reply to it as though like, Like you need to. I just think some of the questions are interesting, and I would personally like to hear the answers to them. So the real point of this was just that, like, no matter who you are, like, I see it so much with Patrick Bet David now. It's like, I feel like half his comments, I'm exaggerating, but that's what it feels like to me, are like, this guy's a fucking MLM scammer. He made all his money scamming people on MLM life insurance. This guy's a fucking snake oil salesman. And it was like, there was a long period of time where there were no negative comments about Patrick Bet David, like years. Like, wow, PBD, you're really, changing the game. You're going where Rogan won't. And it's not like those comments went away, but now there's like a lot of, I'm off this train and, whatever, whatever. And that was eye opening to me. I'm like, okay, they came for PBD. I get it now. And now to see that, like, if you want to cherry pick things Nick has done, you can do that too. And it really, more than anything, it just gives me, and I hope you, the kind of audacity to just keep plowing forward, knowing that that you, we, everyone will eventually get exposed. If you keep shining your light and living your truth, eventually you're going to get exposed and humiliated. And I just feel like if you know that in advance, then you can be prepared for it. One of my favorite concepts at this point in my life is that the punch that knocks you out is the one that you didn't see coming. So it gives me some amount. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to eat these words and I'm just going to be fucking in the fetal position when my exposure comes. But I do feel like realizing that this is almost like an archetypal pattern of existence that you get exposed, and it's just how it works. Them's the breaks, and like you either want it enough to go through that, and I think you can make a strong case that happens because the path, your one's development requires that, right? You reach a point where you need to be cracked open by life itself to keep reaching further, because the people who get exposed, they tend to go in two directions. They either become deeper and more profound, or they become more fake. And I think when you reach a local maximum, that's usually when it happens, and then those are your choices. And so I accept. This is just me talking to the universe. I accept that one day I am gonna be the one who's getting exposed, and I just hope that I have the courage to be the change I wish to see in the world and become deeper and more real and more profound after the exposure than I was before. So, and I hope the same for you. I bless you that also happens to you, that you live your dreams and you get exposed and you're at least a little bit prepared for it, and that you become a better, stronger version of yourself afterwards because of it. And that, it was something that's happening for you, not to you, to just like dump one cliche after another. I think that's enough. Otis 5D has reacted. Peace out. Oh, and if you like to talk about these things and think about these things, especially if you like to think about them deeply and subtly and in a nuanced manner, please consider becoming a citizen of Otis 12D. Come to my website, click Otis 12D, and check it out. See what you think, and maybe I'd love if you're into this and you like to think about these things. That's what I'm looking for. That's the kind of citizen I'm looking for. All right, peace.
Otis5D.xyz.
Go fuck yourself.